Are you
Yeah.
ready?
I'm all
Okay, okay, Senator Klobuchar.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Nolen. Good to see you again. And
Thank you, ma'am.
thanks again for talking to Senator Moran and I in our roles as head of the Travel and Tourism Caucus. As you know, Senator Moran and Capito and I worked together to introduce the bipartisan NOTAM Improvement Act. We've talked about this, I think, to create an FAA task force to recommend improvements to prevent future outages in light of what happened a month or so ago. The House version of it has passed, actually, led by Representative Stauber. And the task force would be composed of representatives from air carriers, airports, airline pilots, aircraft dispatchers, FAA personnel, unions, as well as aviation safety, cybersecurity experts. Do you agree that in order to effectively modernize our system, we need to have all parties involved at the table?
Yes, ma'am, I absolutely agree.
Okay, very good. And we're hoping we can get this done quickly, given that it's already passed the House. I also want to talk about the Safe Skies Act. I think safety isn't just about the quality of the planes, it also depends on our aviation workforce. A tired pilot is a danger to themselves, others in the air, and those on the ground. I introduced the Safe Skies Act to take the rest requirements put in place for passenger pilots and apply them to cargo pilots who currently have looser rest requirements. Do you agree that cargo pilots should operate under the same fatigue rules as commercial airline pilots?
What I would say, Senator Klobuchar, is that these are managed vis-a-vis part of the safety management system. Every airline is required to have a fatigue management system, and we've looked at that in depth. And so far, everything that we see have pointed to no additional risk on the part of cargo operations. But as one, we also remain open. Are there additional findings and are different areas for improvement?
Okay. Well, I hope you'll look at this bill. Rural airports, we have 256 smaller airports across the country. That's helped by the Contract Tower Program, and it works very well in Minnesota. Do you commit to ensuring that rural airports have the updated air traffic control towers and facilities they need to accommodate the rising air traffic levels that they're experiencing?
Yes, ma'am. We will commit to continuing to work with you on this. Our goal is to ensure that we've got that level of service across the NAS that serves every one of the constituents of the NAS. So we will certainly look forward to working with you more on it.
Okay, very good. Following the two tragic airplane crashes in Indonesia and Ethiopia that took 346 lives, including a man from St. Cloud, Minnesota, we worked to pass, with the chairman's great leadership, the Aircraft Safety and Certification Reform Act of 2020. I know you already talked to my colleagues Bud and Rosen about FAA and how they're training existing staff. Could you talk about recruiting staff and what you're doing?
Yes, ma'am. We're taking that same sort of approach, right? We've sit down as an executive team and certainly within our aviation safety services to say, what are the skill sets we need not only for today, but for tomorrow, especially as we see novel entrants come into the marketplace. So we want to make sure we got the skill sets. One of the challenges I mentioned is that we are all pulling from the same talent pool, but we are using every effort with our disposal. We're reaching out to universities, industry itself, to ensure that we get the right talent for the agency.
All right. Thank you very much. I'll put the rest of the questions in writing, but I really appreciate you being here today.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Klobuchar. I know we have a couple of members who are on their way, and we also have votes going on. So hopefully we'll get these members in here and questions answered. But if anybody else any other member offices, if they could please.
Well, I actually have one more
Okay,
question.
we'll go right
If you'd like me
ahead.
to filibuster, Madam Chair. I was trying to be
certainly have
nice
a
to the
follow-up.
fellow members.
Yeah, I have follow-up too.
Yes,
but
you
go,
do. I'll
but
do
go.
one, and
Yes,
then
go
you-
ahead.
you
Go
go
right
ahead.
ahead, Senator Klobuchar.
Okay, automated flight control feature of the Boeing 737 MAX aircraft intended to assist the flight crew was identified as playing a significant role in those two fatal crashes I mentioned before. Investigations found that the flight crews were not trained on how to override or disable this system. With pilots often relying on automation during flights, do you believe that pilots are adequately trained to recognize and react to unexpected events under the current training requirements by the FAA?
Well, thank you, Senator Klobuchar, for the question. Let me say, from a point of personal experience as a longtime pilot and a captain, I always felt that I was well trained, the ability to put training, but we want to make sure that exists everywhere. Our mission, my mission as the Chief Safety Officer for the FAA, is we believe that everyone is entitled to a level of safety no matter where in the world they fly. And so that's part of my mantra. The training is there, but we continue to look for how do we improve that. This is another critical aspect for safety management systems. So you have the ability to identify, there's lots of data that the airlines have in terms of their training. And we want to make sure, and we are working also with our international partners, with civil aviation authorities. We've published last year the advisory circular on flight path management, part of which gets, with automated system, ensuring that we don't get into a state of over-reliance on automation, over-reliance on technology, and that our pilots continue to maintain and hone their manual flying skills. So it's one that's top of mind for us.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, ma'am.
Senator